Hey, and welcome to this walkthrough for the new multis we've created as part of the Solo Strings Untamed update version 2.1. If you're a brand new customer and you've just bought these, they'll be included in the download. If you've previously bought them as part of a collection or individually, there's a link on the website about how to download the multis. If you hang around to the end of the video, I'll show you exactly how that installation works. But like I say, if you're a brand new customer, they're good to go. You can just open them up straight away. So the multis are basically all of these instruments, the violin, viola, cello and bass, all loaded into one version of Kontakt. And then we've done loads of tweaking in terms of like the mic positions, the articulations that are included, kind of panning and all those kind of things, just to give you some immediate gratification and kind of get started with them straight away. They're really good for sketching, really good for just getting an idea down immediately. And then obviously you can break out those parts and kind of like, you know, tweak them until they're exactly perfect. So the first one we've got is all the improvisations, which is basically all of the strings. Every single improvisation is turned on, so it's kind of like, you know, everything's good to go. And these are controlled by velocity, as with the improvisations are. So the louder you play, the more and more kind of aggressive that sound's going to get. The softer you play, the more and more soft and fragile the sound's going to play. You can use a mod wheel as well, but this patch is more to do with velocities. So really cool sound, such fun to play with. Like, why didn't we do this from the start where you could just play them all to begin with? I have no idea, but now we've got this update where you can turn off the key switches and map them out across the keyboard. It's like the funnest thing ever to play. It's so cool just to have them all loaded up, and there you can just play them all at once. So that all the improvisations is basically a couple of the mic positions loaded, all the improvisations turned on, and then they're all kind of panned as they would be sat in a quartet situation. The next one is circular textures, which is much more of like a textural pad-like sound. So really cool just to have an underlying pad of texture and sort of like this, just this wash of sound is really cool. Quite a lot of reverb added on that one. Some of the sort of like the glue layers are added in there as well. So it's this really interesting sort of pad-like texture sound. The next one is Empty Room Pizzicato. So this is using quite a lot of the mics of the Nave where we recorded these to get that natural sound, but then we've also added this empty room reverb impulse as well on the interface. The next one is kind of like, there's no reverb on this one. This is Quartet Improvisations at the Nave. And this one, the violin, the viola and the cello randomly cycle through all their improvisations. The bass is there as well. And it's using a blend of absolutely all the mics. This really sounds like you're sat there in front of all of those players. When I've been listening to them live in the live room, hearing them playing, you know, when we've been recording it, this genuinely sounds like you are there. So really nice, intimate sound, such an immediate sort of like sense that those players are there. We've got them all panned across as they would be. It's such a dry sound, but you've got the gallery mics, the room mics, the close mics, everything's included, and it just sounds like you're composing live with those players in front of you, and they're kind of all doing their own thing. And because the improvisations are cycling randomly through all of their different performances that they've played, it's just cool. It's just really cool to play. I can't describe it. Next we've got Reverby Flautando, which is exactly what it says. It's the flautando sound with a big reverb on top. Again, like a really beautiful sort of like breaking up sound. It's really fragile. There's bits in there where kind of like the texture's just breaking up and it's kind of like on the edge of just losing the note, and then the performers do a really good job, the players, of just bringing those notes back just like as quietly and as softly as they could play those notes. Really cool. The studio spiccato, I think this might be one of my new favourite patches because this just sounds alive. This is the room mic and the gallery mic, so what you'll hear on this, there's no reverb applied to this. This feels like you're there in that recording studio, in that live room. So a really immediate and visceral patch. It feels very alive. Those spiccatos really respond well to keyboard dynamics and velocities, all the way from quite gentle all the way to sort of like the more biting ones at the top. The next one is kind of like a really hyped sound. So this is 4 violas doing the job of all 4 string instruments, and I'll show you how this patch is made because it might sort of like spark off some of your own ideas on what you can do with these. So it's 4 individual instances of the viola. One's pitched down 2 octaves, one's pitched down 1 octave, and then there's 2 doing the job of the viola and the violin, and they're all using completely different improvisation patches, and they're all just using the close mic with this lost hall reverb sound. So it is quite a hyped up sort of like unreal sound, but that's, you know, kind of like how bendable these patches are. So a very glossy, unrealistic and hyped up sound, as you can hear, but it's nice to know that these strings are capable of that, and if you push them beyond what they were designed for and what they were recorded for, you can achieve some really interesting sounds and make them your own as well, turn them into something else that nobody else can hear. And that's what I hope this patch does, is kind of like inspire you to push them and make them into something else and make them something different. It's cool just to play in, like, you know, a couple of octaves of the keyboard and have such a massive sound as well. So I'd encourage you to go ahead, try that patch out, and then see what else you can come up with the other instruments as well. On to the last one, which is Viene La Tormenta, which is, if you know your movies and your Spanish, is in The Terminator, where Sarah Connor's sat in the Jeep and a little boy runs up to her, points at the horizon and said, "There's a storm coming."
Viene una tormenta.
This is what this is. This is all of the storms loaded up, every single instrument with their storms. The room mic only, so just like a natural sound of the room, and then some reverb added as well. So a really cool sound to play. If you don't know about storms, it's kind of like all the improvisations layered one on top of the other until you get to all 12 of them in every single patch. So you're getting calm stuff at the bottom, just like 1 or 2 players. And then it's adding more and more players and more of those intense, wild improvisations. So not only is the sound getting bigger because you're adding more players, but it's also getting more angry and more intense at the same time. So there's nothing else like it that I've heard, nothing else like it that I've played. It is just great fun. That's all I can describe it as. So good. It's such a good patch to play. You can't describe it. You just have to get involved and get stuck in. You have to get involved all over the keyboard. You have to use your mod wheel all the time. You've got to turn your monitors up loud to just like feel this intense playing experience, but it's really cool. Yeah, I think you'd find it so difficult to achieve this with live players. I think you could probably do it, but it would be very, very difficult. And it was never originally designed as when we were building the instrument. It was only once we got all the improvisations together that we were like, oh, let's try stacking them and seeing what else we can do with them. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, this is really cool, this is really good. And now you can play them across the full keyboard. It's like this experience I've never felt before. Like I think I lost a couple of hours yesterday just playing around with it. It's definitely one of those patches, and it's good at both ends of the mod wheel as well, from all the way down here at the bottom. And then at the top, obviously, is where things get serious. So that's it, that's the 8 multis. Like I said, they've all been made and designed to provide you with this immediate writing tool, immediate gratification. You've got an idea in your head, you've got some music to write, you've got a cue that just needs like some ideas putting down, you know, as quickly as you can. Then just load one of these up and you'll be good to go. And you don't have to think too much about different articulations and mic positions and reverbs and all that kind of thing. Just get immediately to writing before that idea. You know how it is when you've got an idea and you just need to get it down. That's exactly what I've been using these for, so really happy with how they've turned out. So in this part of the video, I'm just going to show you exactly how to install the multis. If you're a brand new customer to Solo Strings Untamed and you've just downloaded them and they're in the download folder already, you don't need to do any of these steps. They'll work straight away. These steps are just for people who've downloaded the instruments individually or as part of a collection, and that multis folder isn't in their download or they haven't got it. So the first thing to do, obviously, is just go onto the web page, onto the Solo Strings Untamed web page, and download them here. There's just a button there to download. They're not big, so it won't take long to download at all. Then once you've got them, just unzip the folder, and now you can store that wherever you want. This folder, I've got it with my other Westwood Instruments Untamed series, but you can just put them wherever you want. Then once you've done that, when you've stored them somewhere, just open up Kontakt. And you can do this like as a standalone, or you can do this in your DAW, it doesn't matter. And what we're going to do is just battery save those multis and just tell Kontakt exactly where all the files are that it needs to find. And we need to do this in quite a specific order, so just follow this through and there won't be any problems. If you get stuck and you've hit a wall, you can just re-download them again and start again from the beginning. If anything wrong happens or you've done something that you shouldn't have done, it won't affect the original files. This is just the multis that you're affecting now. So just open up Kontakt, go to the disk icon and hit battery save. It's going to come up with this warning box. Don't worry about that. That's just going to tell Kontakt that if there's already an instrument loaded, it's going to kind of merge it with these. We don't want to do that, so just hit yes. Then you're going to tell it where the multis are saved. So just navigate to the folder where you've stored the multis and hit open. Then it's going to look for all these files that it needs to know where they are. And it's going to come up with this content missing warning box. And that's absolutely fine. That's what you want it to do. And this is the bit where we need to do it in quite a specific order. We're just going to tell it where all the samples are first and then 4 specific files after that. And it sounds a lot, but don't worry about it. We're going to go through it now. So the first thing to do is just find all the bass untamed samples. So you want to check this box that's resolve all possible. If it's white, that's checked. If it's like this, that's not checked. So just make sure it's white and then hit browse for folder. And then basically you're going to tell it where your bass untamed samples are. So just navigate to where you store those, bass untamed, and they'll be in this samples folder here. There'll be a big long list of samples, thousands of samples there, and just hit open. And now it's found all those, and now it's looking for the next lot, which is the cello samples. And it's going to take ages to do this, so what you can do is just click cancel and kind of tell it where those are. So hit cancel, browse for folder again, go to the Cello Untamed folder, hit samples, and then do that. And then we're going to do that for the viola and the violin as well. So now it's looking for the viola samples. So exactly the same again. Just telling it where the samples are. Don't look for the root folder in this. Don't look for just find all the samples automatically, because that's where it's going to go wrong. You need to tell it where these samples are in this specific order. So follow this through as I'm doing it and there won't be any issues. Now it's looking for the violin, so you can just cancel that and tell it exactly where those samples are. So violin untamed, and those are the samples there. And now it's looking for these 4 files specifically. So this is where we're now just going to look for those 4 files on their own individually. So rather than clicking for browse for folder, you're now going to click browse for files. And now it's looking for the bass untamed one first. And it's looking for this NKR file. So look for a file that's called NKR. It's already kind of got it as though that's the one that it wants. So click open. It's going to find that one. Now it wants the cello one. So just find that cello.nkr file there. This one's called resources.nkr. Now it's going to look for the viola one. So go and find the viola one. This resources.nkr file. Now it wants the violin one. And this is the final one. Once you've done this, you're all good to go. This is called resources.nkr. So open that, and that's it. That's all the hard work done. So if you followed those steps through, you've got it exactly right up to this stage. Now this is going to take a few minutes just to resave all these patches, but the good news is you only have to do this once, and once it is done, all of the multis are going to open a lot faster as well. So when you need access to them, batch resaving basically enables Kontakt to find files in your system much quicker than it does normally. So if you've not done this or you don't know about this, I would do it for a lot more of your libraries too. There's loads of videos on YouTube about how to do batch resaving, so I'm not going to go through in detail exactly, you know, how it's done, but I'm just doing it specifically for these multis. So you don't need to do it for all the multis. It's going to do them all at once, all in that file. So just sit back and wait a few minutes for it to do it. My system's going to take about 3 minutes. I've got a fairly decent iMac and an SSD drive attached, so your mileage is going to vary depending on your system specs. So just sit back and wait for it to happen. Go make a cup of tea, check your emails, do whatever you want to do while this happens. So that's it. That's all you need to do for the multis to work. If you get stuck with any of it, or you've made a mistake, or you get halfway through and you've clicked the wrong button, the easiest thing to do is literally just download them again and start from scratch again, and then you'll be good to go. If you do get any issues with this, obviously reach out to us on the webpage, the support webpage, and we'll help you out as best we can. That's it. Hope you enjoy using them, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.